We're live.
It says you are alive. Or no, it didn't say that.
No,
It said
it says you're
you
live.
you are live. Okay, there we go. Yes, we are live.
I
And
tried to help you out, Rick.
I know. It's just, when you have one hairstyle.
I fixed it all for you guys today. It did not look like this an hour ago.
I got specially dressed up. I don't know if you can see that. See, I got my
Oh,
Christmas shirt on.
oh, I see it. It's
Yes,
too bad the
yes.
camera doesn't see it.
What's that?
It's too bad the camera doesn't see it. It's covered by your name.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. My wife will be happy. It's been sitting in the drawer for a while. I kept
Hi,
looking at it.
Ken.
Hey, Ken. Yes.
Welcome.
Oh, lovely
Yeah,
looking hosts. Yes.
welcome. Ken was one of those love-giving people today.
Oh, was he? Oh, and why was
Yes.
he? It's not your birthday, is it?
No, no way. Not my birthday at all.
No, no. Well,
Yeah,
I know you might be in denial, but happy birthday, Fati.
thank
Happy birthday.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I did try to go about my day as if it wasn't, and people didn't
Yeah.
let me.
Yeah. No,
And
no.
I'm grateful that they didn't
Yeah.
because it's not like any other day.
No, no. It is a celebration. And, it's like, and I know I've had mixed experiences with birthdays. My 30th was probably the weird one. Like I just was not into it. I don't know what it was about it. Even I upset at everybody, kind of a thing. Maybe it was my midlife crisis at 30, and I figured, well,
30,
geez,
wow.
if that's my midlife, that means by 60, kind of,
Wow, you're done.
I'm done. I'm done. Well, thank goodness I didn't believe in that. But no, it is interesting, and it kind of fits in a little bit of what we're kind of talking about in time, because birthdays are a marker for people in some regards, right? It's like, oh my
A
goodness,
marker, yeah.
yeah, another year gone by, another notch in the belt, whatever. And then the other one is obviously, which is coming up in a few weeks, is New Year's, right? So the flip of the calendar. So there's all these indicators. I'm just thinking of, like, all the indicators we have to tell us that time is running through us or by, or whatever you want to call it. Even the countdown timer that we have for this show, right? And how, as you were saying, oh, are we a little anxious? Kind of.
Are you saying I was calling you out on being anxious? No,
Well,
never.
you were just pointing some facts. You were just pointing some facts, right?
Yeah.
But like
But
go
I
ahead.
have to say that, like when you said, let's talk about time, right? I had this whole idea of what I was gonna, you know, chip in on my part on this
Yep.
subject, right? Time is a big thing for me. We will get into that, no worries. But it's, because of the timing of this conversation being on my birthday, it really got me thinking about time in a different way, right?
Oh, okay. Yep.
In a very different way, in terms of all the people that have reached out to me from really, really, really far, right? And really long friendships that I've had almost, like the great majority of my time, my life now, right?
Mm,
And when you get to say that, that you're kind of getting that towards that midlife, right? I'm getting there. I think it's fair to say closer,
sure.
right?
Sure.
And yeah, I was really thinking about how often I see some of these people, which is not very often, and how much time has not changed anything, right? Especially with the friends that I have in Italy that I grew up with, that I used to ride my Vespa with and do all the crazy things that now I'll be afraid if my kids did.
Mm.
All those things.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, And it's just, there's just that bond and that knowing and that, that timelessness to the friendship that you realize how time really doesn't matter. Here we are, I'm like celebrating 45 years of life. And we used to ride Vespas together when we were like 16 years old, right? And it's like we're the same people. I feel exactly the same way about them. And
Hmm.
time has really left some of those friendships untouched. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. It's that's where time has literally had no effect and has stopped, right? We have all had our lives and gone on in different directions, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But the love and the connection that we've had has stayed the same and untouched.
yeah.
So
It's like that that part of it is timeless. Like
it's timeless.
it knows no time, right? I
Yeah.
as humans, I mean, time itself was invented. Like we made up time. Um,
Hmm.
and I saw this quote about time is what keeps everything from happening once. So, and and so at one time we didn't even have time zones. People just arbitrarily said, "Hey, it's 3 o'clock in Denver right now," and well, it can't be 3 o'clock in Denver because it's 3 o'clock in New York right now, right? And how did the trains? So a lot of this came from transportation, right?
Hmm.
To schedule things to like to happen. So time is a measurement. Time is all this kind of stuff. So like when Einstein said time is relative, it really truly is because there are a lot of things that we experience as timeless. You know,
Timeless, yeah.
I like I not that I want to get really deep, but we can go deep anytime we want, can't we?
Yeah,
Um,
we can. Yes, we
we
can.
we we can have a sense of what the age is of our body, right? Like
Hmm.
we mark it with birthdays, right? I'm 65 and you're 29, ish.
Thank you. I love you. I love you for that. That's okay. I already disclosed my age.
Well, not did you say it in public here? No, you don't have to. But
I did. I
did you?
did.
Oh,
I
wow.
did. You're not
Okay.
paying attention.
No,
4 5,
I well,
45.
I knew you were, but anyway.
45
So,
young. I feel very young.
well, and so that's where I wanted to kind of point out to because we know we have a consciousness, right? We know we have this soul within us, right? That and that's how we experience what we're experiencing. But when you kind of like try and turn the spotlight towards that direction and put an age on that, like can you really determine or indicate how old your soul is? Like what that conscious no, it
No,
no,
yeah.
it does not seem to have an age to it. And I find that kind of fascinating in that regard.
I mean, we think we're timeless beings.
True.
There is no age,
No.
right? And as you get older and as you get out of the ego and you get more experience and wiser, right? You really connect with a part of you
Yeah.
that's ageless. We're
Yeah.
ageless,
Yeah.
right? What does another year on the calendar really mean to your soul? I don't know. I haven't seen one up close, but I haven't seen any wrinkles in any soul that I've met so far.
Well, that's the other, it's like I physically, I've noticed there's been some changes for me,
And I would
really.
challenge that too. What if you
Yeah.
stop believing in that?
Okay, all right, here we go, right? It's like right. I mean, because I am only experiencing it through the inside, right? So who's to say? Like, I don't even know if what you see is what I see, right? I mean, that's the uniqueness. And I just came from a conference on neurodiversity, and they were talking about that there isn't a brain that's the same. Like they're same functions, but the because we are always experiencing life from our own points of view, from our own unique perspectives, we develop differently. So we're always looking at the world differently, always. And I think that's one of the things, like even when we're talking about time, your experience of time is so different than mine, and naturally so.
And within the same person, the experience of time can greatly vary based on what you're doing,
Oh well,
right?
and that's the part that is really, because I've noticed, a lot of people talk about, well, okay, well, time management, like we all get, I think it's 1,440 some odd minutes a day,
Mm,
right? So we all get a bucket of time, right? And we've got all these cute things about, okay, well, I'm going to save time. I'm going to, do, all these different things in the illusion of that we can somehow take time and either expand it or contract it according to what our needs are. But it's really it's finite in that regards. It's got bookends, right? Every 24 hours the day starts all over again.
mhm.
Period. You don't get to hold on to it and carry it
You
over
know,
to the next
I
day.
tried. I
No,
tried.
it's
It
not.
didn't work.
I think there's a cell phone company that does that, right? You can take the minutes that you didn't use last month and move it over. Wouldn't that be
Roll
wonderful?
them over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
roll them over, right? It's like I probably would have, hopefully, maybe 40 years of rollover minutes that I could carry on with, in living. Because again, subjectively, we always look at our time based on what we're doing or what we're accomplishing, if it's valued or not.
What we expect to accomplish in that
Well,
time.
that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like one of the things that, like people are asking me, it's like, so what did you do today? And as if doing something validated the day, right? So
Hmm.
if I accomplished so much, then that kind of somehow would equate, I had a good day, right? So it had nothing to do if I had enjoyed myself doing it, kind of a thing. um and I think there's a difference between the doing and what we accomplish in relationship to the time, to how we are enjoying the time or enjoying the moment, provides the relativity between the speed of what we experience time going through. It's like Einstein said, like if 1 hour or 1 minute sitting on a tack feels like eternity, but 1 minute with your loved one feels so short, feels like seconds.
Hmm. Yeah, because it's all relative to the way you're experiencing it, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
everything. And I do love the reference that you made to like time management and how we have all these expectations of what we are gonna get done within this time frame.
yeah,
There was a quote that I actually posted on my Instagram the other day. It was really great because it spoke to the fact that we are in a culture that really rewards that kind of thinking, right? We're in a culture that rewards the accomplishment, achievement, getting stuff done, getting it all, just clicking it off, like that's really rewarded, right?
yeah.
And giving yourself breaks in taking care of yourself, and self-care is seen as selfish and like what are you doing with your time, right? There's so much, there's a belief system there that needs to be questioned, right? There's a belief
Absolutely,
system there that's unhealthy.
absolutely. Yeah.
And
There's a kind of a cute little story about, and actually it came up in a company that I used to work with. Actually, they used this story, and I've heard it several times about you've heard about the chicken and the egg, or no,
mhm.
that's not the chicken and the egg, the chicken and the pig. See, I remember just like,
No, the
okay,
chicken and the egg I've heard.
yeah, the chicken and the egg. Yes, 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 yeah. This one was it was sort of, it was a management way of explaining, the chicken is involved right? Because involved in the company, so to speak, because it lays an egg and it keeps laying an egg and it keeps laying an egg. But the pig is all in. It's totally
Mhm.
committed, right? Your kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
And and so and the manager was sort of saying, you know, we need more people that are committed, more people that are all in. Until somebody pointed out the pig's dead.
Oh my God. Where is this going?
I want my employees to 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 be well, right, and healthy, and
Hmm.
stay involved in the organization, right? I don't want them totally committed to the point where they're burned out, they're fried, they're quitting, they're disgruntled, right? Yes,
Yeah.
involved 100%, right? And that's all we should be able to expect, right? But this whole, you're absolutely right. There is this thing of people that, like, 80-hour work weeks. The last organization I worked with, hardly anybody ever took a lunch break. They worked through their lunch break,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
The curse of the blackberries that came out, and then the everything else that evolved from that, extended the time when bosses could get a hold of their staff members now.
Or emails, you being able to respond to an email.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, off hours. What happened to off hours?
We're not looking too far back. And I know very well for, personal sad reasons when this started. I think the first Blackberries were like maybe in 2006,
Yeah,
2005, right? And yeah, it's not that far away, right? It was like what, 17 years ago. Oh my
yeah,
God. Now that I say it, it does sound a little bit. Have I not adjusted to this new culture that we're in? Maybe. I'm like, it's been a little bit, I admit it.
yeah,
And at the same time, it in my lifetime, right? It's something that I stepped into unaware and just had to adjust to without really knowing how this was going to affect us, right? We just stepped into it and just went with it. But it has greatly, greatly changed society and the way we interact and we work and the level of stimuli and the level of stress even
hmm,
that you're under, because
yeah,
now if you don't respond to that email within a couple of hours, is like that feeling that
yeah.
you're not on top of it. And
And
so
what are you
it's
missing?
where you're missing and you didn't
Yeah,
respond and you got to get back, and there's all the anxiety that's built around that, right? And it's on text, right? Text is a new thing, right?
yeah,
And Messenger and
yeah.
Telegram and WhatsApp. And I was describing to you all the different ways that people got a hold of me today, and it
Yes,
was
yes,
fascinating. I'm like, wow, here's WhatsApp. Oh, look at my Telegram. Oh, look at my Messenger. Oh, look at Facebook. Oh my God, Instagram.
yeah,
My text messages, like, wow, somebody actually called me too, right? It was intense, right?
yeah,
And it was in a very good, and, I was overwhelmed in a very, very, like pleasant and happy way.
yes,
But I was like, look at all the different things that I normally would just shut off and just like, block out because they're a distraction. And those are all the ways that everyone that loves me, used to reach me today, right? They're like, you're not getting on Facebook, you're not posting. Okay, we're gonna find your WhatsApp,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah. And,
And
yeah,
yeah.
there's so much of an expectation in that too. Like we've it's that whole boiling frog scenario, right? Where the frog is sort of sitting and like, this is cool technology, right? It's like, and you're kind of swimming nicely in the water, and then but you're not realizing that the heat is being turned up incrementally to the point where it's like, oh my, you're right in the thick of things, and you didn't even
Hmm.
realize that you're so caught up in, like you said, all this technology that is surrounding us, and the need to show accomplishment, to show
Hmm.
how much you are doing. It's almost like if you're not doing something, you're not you're not you're not growing, you're not all this kind of stuff, right? So it's we've really created some unique belief systems over the years, all in
Did
the
we
name.
create them? Did we create them, or were they just fell into our lives in a
Well,
sense, right? We
that's
just accepted them, right, and took them in.
well, that's part of it, right? And that's a bit of a group, I forget, a group think phenomenon in the sense of um
It's
like I
collective
can't,
conditioning.
yeah, and I can't remember, like, we were getting back to the cell phone sort of thing analogy. For me, it just seemed like I went out the house one day and everybody had a cell phone. It was like, how does that happen? Right? Like, how does that happen? Like you just come out and it's like everybody's got one all of a sudden, right?
Please don't tell me that you have a home phone. Do you?
I'm not going to tell you. Why are you laughing? Okay.
What? Because I feel like my children don't even know what a home phone is, right? And that's the reason why I asked that was like when I grew up, right? I'm
Yeah.
45, right? We established that. When I grew up, there were no cell phones, right? Your friend called you, I'm gonna meet you at this time in this place. And sometimes you just waited and no one showed up. And then after
Yes.
5, 10 minutes, you just left,
Yeah.
right?
You just left. No deal. No big deal.
No hard feelings. I missed my bus or whatever it was. Later, when you got
Yeah.
home, she called you and she's like,
Yeah.
I missed my bus or something happened, right?
Yeah.
But today, oh boy, today, if you don't respond to that text message within, you know,
Yeah.
what is appropriate, then feelings get hurt. And, like there's people create all sorts of stories around that,
Oh,
right?
there's so much
And
sensitivity.
yeah, you start creating and you start getting in your head, and depending on what the
Yeah.
obviously the call or the message
Yeah.
is, but
Interesting. But so back to our our subject of time, because we are running out of time.
are
Or
we?
are we?
No,
Yes, right.
it's only 22 minutes in.
Let's yes. And so I have particularly over this last year been experimenting with the whole notion of relativity to time,
Mm,
and the notion of that it really is there, it's an illusion. Like, time to me is an illusion, and I kind of have a bit of a funny story. um my dad had an appointment, so it's a scheduled appointment, right? So it's on the calendar, and he had to go in for some eye surgery, so it was kind of important that we be there on time.
hmm.
And so, even though I do have schedulers and all that other kind of stuff, I kind of rely on my little inner GPS to kind of give me a nudge about, oh, I think it's time that we should go, because I know that it takes X amount of time to get to the appointment. Well, I said to my dad, I says, "Okay, Dad, let's just going." Well, he's right in the middle of his breakfast, and I know how long it takes for him to get ready. Like, he's 91, and and he says, "Yeah, I know." I says, "Let me just finish my toast," and I go, oh. So right away, I'm going into my head, "We're gonna be late. We're gonna be late," kind of a thing, and that's my signal. You talk about kind of being overwhelmed. I know, and this is just like one example. So I basically said, no, let's just see what happens. We're not there yet. I'm projecting into the future of, we're going to be late. They're going to cancel us. We're going to have to rebook for another 6 months. All that kind of stuff, right? I just let no. This is let go of it. So I think I told you I read a book by Joe Bailey called "Slowing Down to the Speed of Life."
Hmm. I
Yeah,
love that
very.
title.
Yeah, I do too. And so we get into the car, we start rolling on. I look at the clock on the radio, and we've we've got about it's 20 minutes to the appointment, and we have about 30 minutes to drive. Let it
Yeah,
go, let it go,
let
right?
it
Right?
go.
Just
It's not projecting, it's just how time works.
let's just drive, right? Let's just drive. So I get on the on our highway, and I'm going a little over the speed limit, okay, because I want to, and it just feels comfortable too.
Please don't
I'm
tell me you
talking.
got a ticket.
No, 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 no. Actually, this is kind of a weird one. But anyways, I start. I think I'm relaxing. I'm letting go. I just sort of, okay, we're gonna get there when we get there. Let's just see what happens. And the book title comes into my head. Just slow down to the speed of life. Just slow down to the speed of life. So I kind of look around me to see what's happening. Get very present, and I notice all these cars are passing me. Like not just one or two, but all the traffic is passing me, right? It's like, and I'm going, maybe I should speed up to the speed of life. It's like
You were the guy blocking
I'm
traffic.
the guy blocking traffic, exactly. So it's like, but I'm looking at the speedometer, like I am
Oh.
over the speed limit, but like literally everybody's passing me. So I pick up speed. I pick up speed. No word of a lie, Fati. I can't catch up to these people. Like the traffic flow is going faster than I am, and I'm picking up speed more and more and picking up speed. And all of a sudden, I start laughing out loud. And my dad says, like, why are you laughing? And I said, I don't know, but look at the traffic. I can't keep up with the traffic. I'm speeding. And he says, well, everybody's going to an appointment. And I guess so, kind of a thing. I couldn't believe it. I says,
That's so funny.
we got there on time.
No, you didn't.
Got there
What?
on time, on
How
time.
fast were they going?
I don't know. I mean, we came into town, so everything had to kind of slow down naturally.
10 minutes is a lot to make up for.
I know, I know. And again, like maybe my dad's clock was wrong on the clock on the car. I don't know, right? But I get there. I got there. We got there on time. I had a parking spot right in front of the freaking door of the place. Kind of. So, but I mean, for me though, this whole notion of slowing down to the speed of life, because that's where overwhelming comes from, is that we get so caught up in our heads about how fast things are going, not realizing what the real speed is in the
Mhm.
moment of now. And when I just, for me, it's sort of like, I got to sort of like step back a little bit and go, okay, like what I'm so far ahead of my steps of all the different things I have to do. I can feel the anxiety. I can feel the, almost a tightness in my chest. That's my signal, right? Feelings. I need to slow down to the speed of life. And what is in front of me that needs to be done, that needs my attention right now, right now. No, not 10 minutes from now, not one day from now, but right now. And the more I've been experimenting with that, the more I have feel more grounded, and productivity has been naturally happening. Like I
Mhm.
cannot believe what I like. There's two phenomenons that I learned in project management. One is we we underestimate the time a project will take.
Always. Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Always. Yeah. Design is the same thing. Like, oh, it's
yes,
going to take me 2 hours. It takes like seven.
yes, yes. So we always over or underestimate the time that it takes to do something, and we underestimate our capacity, or we overestimate our
Overestimate.
abilities, kind of a deal. But what I've noticed though, getting like getting back into a present moment and doing whatever's in front of me, and then doing the next thing and doing the next thing, and then coming back and going, oh, 10 minutes has gone by and I've taken three things off my, like, just being not aware of that there's a time crunch, or there's awareness of time, how much stuff I get done. Like
Yeah,
it
because by staying present, you're getting yourself out of the anxiety zone. right?
Yes.
Anxiety equals disempowered state equals not much gets done, right?
No. Yeah.
That's why we're not so efficient with our time and we don't get much done. It's like, where did the time go? It went into your anxiety.
That's
You went
exactly
into
right.
looking at the clock and we're looking at your list and we're looking at all the things you had to do and then feeling lost and then feeling overwhelmed by it. And then you didn't get any of it done.
Yeah.
That's where it went.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that you shared how you get things done just by bringing yourself back to stay present. Just do
Yeah.
it. Just
Just
stay with it.
and
Yeah.
that's really what it is. And how do I, which one do I pick? Like which one? Really, it's I I just use that inner GPS to sort of like point out. It's sort of like you just know that that is what it just feels right.
And you know what? And I like that you mentioned this too, because there is such efficiency in really following the thing that's coming most natural in the moment, where you're
Yeah.
in that flow, where
Yeah.
the creativity or the energy or the your attention is going towards,
Yeah.
and like sometimes just let go of the calendar. It's like, well,
Absolutely.
right now I was supposed to do this piece of it,
Yeah.
right? And you force yourself into following your calendar. It doesn't work often, right? Because we're just in a different zone in that
Yeah.
moment. We're not going to be as efficient if we force ourselves into that versus if we stay where we're naturally like gravitating towards, right? And kind of following the flow of where we're at versus imposing a specific schedule or like structure to our day.
Yeah.
So I
And
love that.
and on and when you look
I'm
at
gonna do this for a second. I'm listening.
okay.
You know me.
Okay,
You know I
folks.
gotta do this.
Oh, right.
It
Yeah.
feels,
And it's getting earlier all the time
I
until
know
the
it feels
21st.
claustrophobic after a
Yeah.
while to have all that
Yeah.
white.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. It's
Go
cool.
ahead.
It's a better natural light on you anyways. But the other notion I've noticed too is that I have a tendency of chunking the things that I need to get done in not in bite-sized pieces, but in big chunks, right?
Yeah, oh,
And
that works for me actually.
well, it works kind of in the opposite for me in the sense of like when I do I was on this 30-day challenge. Actually, I guess I'm still on. In 30 days, what do you think you can accomplish in 30 days? So at day one on December the 1st, you had to list all the different things you kind of wanted to do on your to-do list, like all the things that you thought you could do, what you wanted to do, what anything. So I wrote things like do my online, complete my online course, write a book, write all these different things. But when you looked at what the list looked like, there was a lot of big things there, like big
Mm.
chunks, right? Like
Okay,
there's
so I get what you're saying now, and
yes,
I meant it in a different way, but go
yes,
ahead. Yeah,
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you
yeah,
did.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but so when you analyze and this is where the overwhelming comes in because you look at that list and you go, oh my goodness, there's just no way I'm going to get all that done. And you're absolutely correct. You're not, right? You're not. And that's the whole trick, right? We have this illusion of our capacity, and yeah, I'll just do an all nighter and all this kind of stuff, right? But when you're present, what ends up happening is you do the thing that's the first step of
Hmm.
whatever, like so you look at say writing a book, right? I want to write a book. Well, what's the first step, right? Like, I don't know, pick a title, whatever it is, right? It's the first step, right? So that's all you need to focus on, not writing the book, but what's the first step, right? So it's like, so I started looking at some of these different things, like, and as I started to do only the first steps, it was amazing how much was being accomplished in such a short period of time. Like within a week, I was well into some projects that I probably would have been doing on the very last day that they were due, kind of a thing. So it
Because
was
how many? Because you took several first steps,
several
right?
first steps, first
Yeah,
steps.
yeah,
So there's something magical about that. And then again,
yeah. I
you
agree.
you can't do it while you're worrying or in your head, and you know and And besides, I've noticed too is that the steps that you think are going to happen in the future, 9 times out of 10, they don't, because
They don't. Yeah.
yeah, after you take the first step, things change. And then
Yeah.
after you take the next step, things change, right?
Yeah, but to point
Yeah,
out my comment, right? Because I think it is actually a very important
sure.
point.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, what I was referring to was task switching within a
Okay.
day, right?
Oh,
So it's not
okay.
so much chunks of things that I have to do, but I find it for me personally, it's a lot more efficient if I stay on the same task longer
Right.
than if I break it down into 1 hour here, 1 hour here, 1 hour here, right? It
Yes.
takes the brain actually some time to switch from one task to the other. So for me, when I'm already in the flow of a certain type of work, it's a lot more efficient for me to stay in it for a
Hmm.
good chunk of time than just switch completely over and do something completely different. So I have actually recently changed my whole calendar and the way I organize my week in based on that. Like
Right.
on Mondays I just do this,
Yeah.
and Tuesdays I just do this because it's more efficient for me.
Yeah.
Obviously there are going to be certain things that you have to do every day, right? If
Yeah.
you're coaching, those are going to be when they're going to be.
Yes.
But creative work, especially, I find that for me, creatively, I need to be in the flow. It takes me some time to get going. And then once I'm in it, if I disrupt the work, then I can never pick it back up from where it was, right?
No.
So the momentum really matters.
I got a question for you though, and I'm curious because I have a bit of a sort of the same kind of experience about once you get into a flow, right? Um,
Mhm.
so you're in that state when what is your signal, or when do you sort of like, okay, that's enough of that?
When it starts becoming a flow, when it stops becoming a flow,
Right.
when I have to put a lot of effort into keeping it going, then I know
Yeah,
it's done,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
there's there's flow is super powerful because it's
Oh,
effortless,
oh,
right?
that's the
So
beauty of flow.
it's
Exactly.
effortless.
Yes.
So for as long as it feels effortless,
Yeah.
I want to give myself the time to let it be,
Yeah.
and it does eventually end,
Yeah.
right? You do eventually just run that thought or that project or that creative idea out. You've
Yeah.
tried all these different ways of doing it,
Yeah.
and then you're okay, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I'm good moving on, right? And sometimes there's something else that comes after that
Yeah.
because I am in that flow state, in that creative mode. And sometimes there's not. And I'm just like, now I'm just forcing it, and it's just not sounding as good or
Yeah.
looking as good. And it's just not the same. And
And
that's when I'm just like, I'm good with that. I let it go.
that to me is so fundamental in the whole time management piece, is the whole know when to fold them and know when to hold them kind of a thing, right?
Hmm.
That it should be effortless. It should have a natural flow to it. And when it doesn't, those are the kind of the signals that maybe it's time for a break. And it doesn't mean that you can't go back to it. All it's saying is, the flow is not there right now. And the more you try
Hmm.
and force it, right? We had talked about that earlier. Like, it puts you in a bad mood. If you're in a low state, your activities tend to produce low level results. So,
Hmm.
optimal, we always want to be in a flow state. So when you notice that you're not, and you get a nudge, you know what? I need to take a break. I need to go for a walk. I need to have lunch. I need to do this. I need to go whatever. For me, it kind of removes me enough, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna get back to that, and then I get back to it, and it's like, oh yeah, there it is again, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're finished that step or that project
No.
or whatever, right? And it could be like, it could be that that's done for the day, right? um but you're absolutely correct. There is that feel of when it's right, and then when it's time to, right?
I mean, the closest thing that I can equate that to for myself is design, right? That's where I
Yeah.
really, I really feel in flow when I'm coaching. So different though, because there's an interaction with another human being. But when I'm designing, right, that in a coaching session may go a little over, but it's never going to go 3, 4 hours, right? Which when you design something, I could go on and on and on for multiple hours. And
Yes.
often my flow
Yeah.
was disrupted by my brain being tired,
Yeah.
by brain fatigue, right? My brain was just fatigued and it
Yeah.
was no longer connecting the same way. I was like, oh, wait, I'm just spinning now.
Yeah.
I would start spinning and like try the same thing. And I was just doing the same thing slightly differently and not really finding peace with it. And I would do what you were saying, just
Yeah.
leave it, walk away from it, and sometimes pick it back up, sometimes pick it up another
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
and get back into the flow of that, design idea or the project that I was working on, and maybe pick it up and take it into a completely different direction
Well,
sometimes, right?
you don't know, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, so from a time perspective, right? It's so time is finite in the sense of there's 60 seconds in a minute, and everybody gets that clump of things, right? It's the activities that we do within those allotted times that makes the fundamental differences.
Yeah.
And so it's not managing time. What you're really doing is managing the tasks that you're doing, right? So so one of the key things that I always coach for others, and I know you do too, is you have to find you in that,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I can tell you what my system is, like, and there's so many systems out there, like the one I originally attracted to was that one called Getting Things Done, and I forget what the guy's name is, Gary something or other, that wrote the book, and I thought, yes, that's what I need. I need a good system to get things done, right? So, and there's a big following. The GTD community is quite large, and there's a few things that I got out of it, in the sense of, and I still do today, actually. Managing my emails, right? So I can quickly go through my emails, and it's basically sorting, kind of a thing. And then you go to your to do list, and it's sort of, it was good, but there was something that wasn't quite me in it,
Mm.
and so we all have preferences, right? We've all, like, this is why no two people are created equal, even if you live in the same household, right? And so we develop preferences over time, how we like to have things done, how we like to. And I think, what you point to is, when things don't feel like they're working, like there's something that it's angst, it's time to look at, well, that system isn't me. If it was me, there would be more flow to it. And so,
Whenever something's not working, is
yeah, well,
that signal,
exactly,
right?
exactly. But but it's but you got to find what works for you, right? And so it's not about, well, what would you recommend? It's right. Well, what are you attracted to? Like, if you're attracted to visual things, maybe a visual calendar might be handy, kind of a thing. I don't know, but it's really about your preferences, your learning style,
Your language, your
your
learning
language.
language, you know?
Yeah, yeah, all those
Yeah.
different things, right? But we are always and this is why they're so successful in bestsellers and various other things, because we're always looking for a technique outside of ourselves, not realizing how much how much of a how much wisdom we have within us for developing
Hmm.
our own systems.
Also known as a shortcut to hack time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when you
Right?
slow down or speed up, whatever what you need to do.
We're always looking for ways to make the time more efficient, a
Oh,
shortcut in it, right? We're always looking for the new technique, the new way to streamline this and streamline
yeah,
that and do
yeah. The
this
most
and do that.
popular, right? It's got to be right. It's got
And
to be
and
right.
yet time still there, still the same.
It's like,
May or may not exist.
so one thing. I know this is a sort of getting more on a serious subject, but it has to do with time. And one of the things that I realized, and as I get older, it's starting to creep in more and more, is our physical presence and as you've experienced many times too, is uh, we don't know when the when the switch is going to be turned off, so to speak, right? And and your birthday and all the different accolades and well wishes and the love that was pouring to you in what I call the tsunami. Right? It was like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
really warm blanket of love that was on you is sort of like my biggest wish is that we would not be afraid to do that more often,
Mm, yeah.
right? To share the impacts and love that others have had on us, you know, um, and vice versa, kind of a thing, right? Um, like why do we need special occasions? It just seems yeah, yeah. So that's my Christmas wish this year.
I mean, I love that you pointed to that, right? That we all need more of that. And I think that what I realized actually this birthday, and part of one of the very overwhelming thoughts that I had was the fact that some of these people have expressed that to me throughout the year, right?
Hmm.
And it
Yes.
really wasn't, it was special because it was my birthday, but it wasn't the first time that they did express that. And it kind of helped me kind of like review my year, right? And just really look at it. It does speak to the power of numbers,
Mm.
right? Because many of these people in my life have expressed that to me throughout the years, but when they all came at me at once today, from the moment that I woke up, still going now, it's like receiving all the love at once, like a tsunami, like you were saying. It has an impact.
Oh,
It's
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, it has an impact. It just, I'm feeling all the love all at once, and it's overwhelming in a really, really good way, in a really, really good way.
Hmm.
But I love what you're pointing to. There needs to be more of that shared throughout the year, right? And I know that as coaches we do that, and we encourage that, and we're really open with our feelings, right? We have big hearts, and very aware of all this. And because my coaching community has grown over the last year, and I feel closer and closer to so many of you, you included, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
It just really warmed my heart to receive that kind of love from people that I work with, you
Yeah.
know, because that is new for me. I didn't have that in my work life before.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
quite the opposite, honestly. So yeah, and it just validates my choice to kind of shift my career into something that really feeds my soul,
Yeah.
and not just my creative side, and follow something that feels on purpose, that feels like my mission in
Yes.
life,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And still be a designer, still be creative, and
Oh,
still
absolutely. Yeah.
have that,
Yeah.
right? No one's going to take that away from me. And I was for so long attached to that identity because I had worked so hard for it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I had the degree, right? And I couldn't let it go, even if it felt miserable. The industry honestly felt really miserable to me. I didn't have this kind of love in my life from the people that I work with. And so that was a really big, big, big point of difference for me, in the last couple of years. But as I go on coaching and we get closer and get to know each other more and more, obviously the bonds are like tighter, and they're,
And
they're
and you also bring like when you talked about your like career shift thing too, right? And we were talking about having possibly a guest coming on in a future episode about
Mhm.
talking about career shifts and things. Part of what I find in change management, in coaching people in change, is that there's a reluctancy because time again is that whole illusion, right? Is that is that I have invested so much time in this.
Mhm.
It's almost like it's money, right? it's like I've invested so much into this. How can I now, switch gears? Like it's sort of like did I just waste all my time, right? And I never think, and I've never experienced wasted time. Like I don't believe that there's such a thing. Like you're always, even if you're lying on the couch, if you're enjoying yourself, it's not wasted time. Okay, kind of,
Yeah.
because if that's where you need to be.
But you're
But there's
right. There is not only just this sense that you have wasted your time. There's this sense that you have you're wasting your talent, your knowledge, like what you know, and your identity. All this time that I
yeah,
spent building my identity as a fashion designer,
yeah,
who am I going to be without that?
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
How can I just now be a coach? It took me a long time to let go of that and call myself a coach. I was like, I'm just trying this coaching thing on, not a coach. I remember even saying that, right?
Hmm.
I'm just seeing how this fits and if I like it, which I believe it was the right way for me to test it out. I think we all should try things on before we decide to buy them
Should
or
always
wear
try them
them
on.
for a long time, right?
Yes,
So that's kind of
yes.
how I
I
shifted as
decided to wear this shirt today. Yeah, try it on.
there you go. There you go. You tried it on and you kept it.
I
But
kept it.
yeah, it's like, I tried it on and because I feel like I didn't really try this fashion design thing on before I committed to it, right? As a younger version of myself, just got the degree, or I'm creative, I like that, it sounds cool, right? I'm gonna do this. And then when I really tried it on, I was like, oh boy, this is very different.
Yeah.
Reality out of school is very different than what I thought it was going to be. In my dreams, what happened?
Oh, I
Where
know.
is my
Same
dream?
with paramedic school. It's not the same. It's not the same what they say in
Yeah,
the textbooks, right?
exactly.
But there's another thing. There's another side to that too, right? Is the so we talk about, okay, so did I just waste a bunch of time? The other part is that, well, how much time do I really have left? So there's this sort of thing, like if I make this shift, like like how long is this
So
going to
true.
take? How long is
Yeah.
it? So I know we're running short on a little bit on on time, because we want to honor our commitment and our integrity, um, but when you throw time out of the equation, you're left only with this moment, and there's an infinite amount of moments. So
Mhm.
if you're looking to try something, try it in the moment and moment by moment, because there is no time limits. There's no time restraints. There's nothing that has to get done by a certain moment. So, if you're overwhelmed, if you feel stuck, look to see if time is part of that equation. And just ask yourself, if time wasn't part of this equation, what would I be doing? What would I be doing differently?
I
And
love that.
and just experiment with that. Just explore that, right? So but in this
I
case,
love that.
time is
Try to remove the time piece out of it and
yeah,
see how it
and
lands and
just see how
see
it lands. Yeah.
how you experience it, right?
Well, that's all you get, right? And the worst that you can happen is you'd have an enjoyable experience, you know, um, and if it turned out to be not what it is, well, then you can always go back being miserable or whatever it is you're in. It's like there's always that option. You can always go back, right?
You can
But
always go back. You can always keep rehearsing and
yeah,
reliving the past,
well,
right?
we are practicing all the time, right? I mean, we
Mhm.
we say to the medical profession or any service industry, it's a practice, right? Well, we're we're never to get it right anyways. Like we're always
Mhm.
practicing. We're always practicing. You can never get it wrong. It's just in your head that you get it wrong, right? So try stuff out. Like in this case, let's take time out of the equation and just see what happens.
I love that. I'm gonna try that this week.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Well, happy birthday. I know you've
Thank
got
you.
some special people you got to pick up, and
I do.
pick up the rest of the day for you, and
I have a dance-a-thon to attend in my living room with
oh,
my little ones.
nice, nice, nice.
And cheesecake.
Oh, New York cheesecake.
Cheesecake, yeah, with strawberries. They've already picked the whole thing. So
Oh,
I
that's
think
wonderful.
I'll redirect them to cheesecake when I break to them that we're not going to be going out to dinner. How about cheesecake?
Oh, that's great. That's great. All right. Well, thanks everybody for um
Thank you, Ken.
yeah, yeah. Thanks Ken for
Thank you.
joining us and everybody else that joined us and next week I think we're on next week, right? We still got next week to come on.
Hmm.
Just looking next week and just there's a few days before Christmas and we'll stay tuned to what the topic will be. I know we talked about a couple of different things, but we'll touch bases over the weekend and just make sure that it feels right still.
Okay, sounds
All
good.
right. Bless
All
you.
right.
Have a
Bye,
good one.
Rick.
Bye bye.
You too. Ciao.
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 Ciao.